Namaste and welcome to Pramanic Astrology. And today we have with us one of the best astrologers, Paul Manley ji, and he will be talking about how we can use the divisional charts to increase our precision with the birth time rectification and more to it. Okay. And yeah, I won't take much of your time. Just settle down, have your notes, copy, pen, coffee, get ready, and let's talk about and see what he wants to share with us. Okay, so please welcome Paul Manley ji. Namaste, Paul Manley ji.
Namaste. Good to see you
Namaste.
again,
How are
Prasad.
you?
I'm doing so
Yes,
good. Excellent.
yes. So yeah, um, what you're going to share with us today? Okay.
Well, I think, uh, first of all, how I see it is that astrology is a game of precision.
Hmm.
Uh, when someone comes for a reading, they're expecting precision. They're expecting whatever you say is going to be accurate. It's going to be spot
Yeah.
on, and this is what is possible with the
Hmm.
Vedic astrology system. It's known as an amazing predictive system. So
Right.
of course people find out about it and they want to get those kinds of results. Tell me when I'm going to get the next job, when I'm going to have a child, or whatever is concerning them. It can be in any. It could be as obscure a question as could be. Astrology will cover everything. Uh,
Right.
so um, it's possible to read the past events in the past. It's possible to read
Hmm.
events in the future. I mean, all the systems are there. All the tools that we
Hmm.
need are there if you learn to use them. And one of the very
Hmm.
best tools that I know is the divisional charts. So,
Hmm.
I mean, but the divisional charts, we need to have a correct birth time to be able to utilize the divisional charts. That's their catch. That's they're unreliable unless our birth time is correct. So that's why they are such a powerful tool for birth time rectification. On one hand, they're great
Right.
for that service that someone can provide, finding out when a person is born. They're also amazing as a predictive tool. And so when you dive into the divisional charts and birth time rectification simultaneously, you learn two things. You learn how to go deeper into the divisional charts. How do you read something like education? If someone has an
Hmm.
advanced degree, is that possible? Yes, it's absolutely possible if the birth time's accurate and you can use the D24 chart. Likewise,
Hmm.
in all the major areas of our life, getting a child, yes,
Hmm.
you can. This is going to, an event of childbirth should definitely show up in the D7 chart. Likewise, marriage should definitely show up in the D9 chart. And if it doesn't, then it could be, it's either one of two things. It's either that the birth time is off or the astrologer's skill level is not uh,
Hmm.
good enough. They don't know how to read that.
Good enough. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Right.
So, um, you know, precision is expected of a classical system, right? I mean, if you go to a
Hmm.
classical,
Right.
I mean, you think of classical Indian music, I mean, it's very precise. There are systems of
Right.
how to do things. If you, classical
Hmm.
Indian dance, very precise in the hand movements, the foot movements, the
Right.
facial movements, everything. And that's makes it a thing of beauty. It is the precision. It's the discipline of the art. And Vedic astrology is no different.
Hmm.
It's one of the Vidyas. It's Vedanga. It's part of the Vedas.
Hmm.
And just like with classical music, if you go to you go to Western classical music concert and
Hmm.
you're listening to a symphony, you expect that all the instruments are going to be tuned precisely, right? I mean, you're
Right.
going to get this amazing sound. The instruments themselves are going to be top of the line, and they're going to be tuned exactly. And any good musician is going to be aware if about their instrument and whether it is in tune or not, right? They have the tools to be able to bring it into
Yeah.
tune. We have physical devices for tuning the instrument, and they also have their ear. They have their intuition. So they have the science of a tuning device. They have the art of tuning it by ear. Now, when we're talking about Vedic astrology, we as astrologers need to have the same kind of acuity, the awareness of whether the birth time is correct. In other words, this, I mean, if people are expecting precision in a prediction, but the birth time is rounded to 12 noon, or it's an uncertain birth time, then how is that possible? I mean, uh, we in a sense acquire superpowers as astrologers. We
Yes.
can see events in the past, we can see events in the future, and yet we can't utilize those skills if we don't have the correct birth time. Just like
Right.
a musician can't play their best, finest music if their instrument is not in tune. So when I first met K.N Rao, this was an incredible moment in my life. I just spent a year and a half studying astrology like full time. I mean, full time, like 7 months of that were in India. Um, and and then when I came back, I moved to Santa Fe, New Mexico to do a master's degree in counseling. Um, and and I moved to Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I lived only a few miles from David Frawley. So after this long trip, I'm getting ready to do this master's degree program. And then I get a call from David Frawley, and he says, come to my house this Friday night. There's going to be a famous astrologer. Uh, and I said, definitely, I'll be there. And so I went to David Frawley's house, and there was an informal gathering in his living room. And that's when I met K.N Rao
Wow.
in October of 1993. And it was such a special evening because people would file in. Yogi Bhajan, a famous spiritual teacher, lived nearby. Also, other famous astrologers came by, and he talked late into the night, and and people filed out, and I just kept staying. Like I was entranced. And at one point, he looked at me and he said, the dashas are the unraveling of our karma through time. The dashas are the unraveling of our karma through time. And I was just transfixed by that. I was contemplating that. And it just, in an instant, I knew he was my Jyotish guru. And so I asked him, at some point, like, how can I study with you? Where are you going next after Santa Fe? And
Yes.
and he said, I'm going to Houston. And I said, I just blurted out, my dad lives in Houston. And he says, well, why don't you come along, and you can see your dad, and you can help me as an assistant for a few days, enter birth data into my computer. And so I went with him, and that trip was the first time that I witnessed him rectifying the birth time. First time ever sitting with him doing a reading, and seeing his screen. And on the screen were so many divisional charts, as many as would fit on the screen. And of course, I was the guy, the assistant who was entering the birth data, so I got to see what he used.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
and so my dad comes for his reading, and my dad tells me his mom says his birth time is 10 o'clock, and it's a rounded birth time. And I'm like, oh God, a rounded birth time. And here's this great opportunity to get a reading with K.N Rao, and he's got a rounded birth time. And so I say, sir, his birth time is rounded at 10 a.m. Would that be a problem? And K.N Rao said, no, I will see. No problem. I will see. He was not at all intimidated by a rounded birth time. I mean, here is a master
Wow.
astrologer and a master of
Yeah.
divisional charts. And so I like had front row seats. I was
Mm,
already fascinated with birth time rectification at that point because
mm,
I had done
mm,
a lot of readings in that year and a half where I dove into astrology full time.
mm.
Uh, and um, and so I had encountered people with unknown birth times, and I had
Exactly.
dabbled in it, you know. So I did my level best, you know, and but failed miserably because the I didn't have the tool of
Mechanism. Yeah.
division.
Correct.
I didn't have the tool of the divisional chart to work from.
Mm,
So that's what I learned from him in that first time witnessing him giving readings, and even a reading to my own dad. And so by the end of the reading, or at the end of 15 minutes, at the beginning of the reading, I should say, he had corrected the birth time to 9:56.
wow.
And so I had the tape
Genius.
recording. I had the tape recording of his the entire process. So over the years, I would review that, and that's what I have written about in this book, Birth Time Rectification:
Oh,
How to Use the Divisional Charts uh,
right.
to find your exact birth time. So I can show you my dad's chart. Would you like to see that?
Yeah, why not?
I'll show you one
Definitely.
thing. I
Yeah.
mean, why not? Let's see. Um, so we're going to share a screen.
Yeah.
Okay. And okay. I think we got it shared here. Oh, that's baby
Okay.
Raman's chart.
Okay.
That's another chart I want to look at. But okay, here's my dad's chart. So 10 a.m. was the rounded birth time.
Okay. Yeah.
And he asked, so K.N. Rao asked him, when did you get married? He
Mm,
asked him many questions, but in
mm,
fact, before that, he said, in 1955, you met someone and you wanted to get married, right? Like he knew that. He said he knew that before
oh,
even correcting the birth time. So he's just amazing skill level. I mean, astounding. But in any case, then he said, okay, my dad confirmed, yes, 1955, I asked a
mm,
woman to marry. That's my mom, right? so, so, so he goes, okay, when was the date of your marriage? So he collected the date of marriage,
mm,
and let's see. Wait, hold on, excuse me. Let me just. Oh yeah, that's correct. Okay, so we got the Navamsha chart, and then, so bear with me. This is going to all be very clear and simple. All right, so just take a look at. Look at this birth time. The birth time. Look at this number in top hand corner.
mm,
9:57 and 16 seconds to 10:14. That is the ascendant of the Navamsha chart.
mm,
That's the ascendant of the Navamsha chart. So it lasts for, well, from that time range. Okay, so about 15 minutes, 16, 17
right.
minutes. The natal chart ascendant's going to last about 2 hours, but the Navamsha ascendant is going to last about 15 minutes. Okay, so
Yes.
this is how this becomes a gauge. Is this correct? So then, you know, what I realized what he was doing is he used the divisional charts to correct the birth time, but really what
Mm,
he was doing was making sure that he could use those cool tools, the divisional charts. These
right.
are microscopic look into a particular area of life, right? So the natal chart gives a macroscopic general look into all areas, but the divisional chart, oh, so now the divisional chart is a microscopic look into
Right.
a specific area, much more detail, much more precision. They are the doorway to precision is the divisional charts. So
Right.
is this correct? So he was married in Moon Rahu Dasha. Okay,
Mm.
so then this is an essential skill that an astrologer needs to learn. How do you verify if a divisional chart is correct, or even the natal
Mm.
chart? Is it correct? Is the birth time correct?
Right.
So he looked at this, and he he had seen that he got married in Moon Rahu. Okay, so
Right.
now bear with me here. This is going to be awesome. Okay, so we're going to move this birth time back to before 957, right? So
Mm.
957, that's good. Okay,
Oh,
so bingo. This is a totally different chart, right? When we're talking about marriage, now look what
yeah.
happens. Moon, the Mahadasha Lord, is aspecting the seventh house. It's in the ascendant, in the I mean, it's in the ascendant.
Yes,
So
yes,
it's
yes,
aspecting the
yes.
seventh house, and it's in the ascendant in the relevant divisional chart, the Navamsha. A
Right.
planet, a Mahadasha Lord or Antardasha Lord, Bhukti Lord, in the ascendant in a divisional chart is going to represent uh, an important event in that area of life. Okay, so now the subdasha was Rahu. So
Mm.
Rahu is aspected by Saturn. Saturn is the seventh lord. Do people see that? I mean,
Yes,
all of a
yes,
sudden
yes,
you can
yes.
use this Navamsha chart. All of a sudden it's actually showing the event, a past event. This is the
Wow.
superpower. It is so powerful. It's so helpful. It's so essential.
Yes.
It's so essential. Okay, so uh, going back, um, no, going forward, let's just go to 958 or later. Look,
Mm.
Moon and Rahu, there's no connection with seventh house, seventh
Right,
lord, or Venus, the karaka, the main karaka for
right.
marriage, the event of marriage.
Mm.
So you go back. The
Oh.
ascendant, the correct ascendant in the Navamsha, therefore, is Leo. So this is
Mm.
what he did right before my eyes, and I'm like, wow. I actually didn't understand what he was doing at the moment. I just
So,
noticed what he was doing because he had the divisional chart on the screen. I could see he was looking at the divisional chart, but I didn't know how to use the divisional charts to correct the birth time. Um, okay,
so he just used the marriage timing, the real event in your life, the person who has some doubt about their birth timing, because I get a lot of people, they don't have the birth details, birth time, you know, so they feel lost that they can't have access to the Jyotish tools to know their
absolutely, yeah. I
like.
mean, it's a great service for somebody to provide birth time rectification because then you can actually utilize all the tools. And this is what K.N. Rao. This is a quote that he says. That one of my favorite quotes is he says that Jyotish is a blunt tool without the use of the divisional charts. It's blunt. Yeah, it's not precise. It's like if we're as astrologers are trying to make we're trying to be sincere and help somebody, right? I mean,
Right.
it's a helping profession. We're trying to help people, so we can't make an accurate prediction if our hands are tied. We can't use our amazing tools like the divisional charts. So it really becomes a basic essential skill for astrologers to develop, is to be
Right.
able to do exactly what I just showed you here, to
Yes.
verify and to correct, verify, rectify the birth time. So then, oh my God, this opens up another world. Then we can predict when marriage would happen, what kind of dynamics could take place in the marriage. We have so
Mm.
much more to share with someone, and then we have also the confidence to be able to share it
Mm.
with because we know
Right.
we've been able to verify that the birth time is correct. So
Wow.
before I go any further, I just want to say, if people are interested in this, um, you can download. I got a gift for you. You can download the first 2.5 chapters of this book by going to my website, lightonvedicastrology.com, and slash download. Okay, so get the first 2.5 chapters. You can read this exactly what I'm talking about: meeting K.N. Rao, learning about birth time rectification. Um, so, and then also, if you're interested in the a webinar I'm on this subject, then I'll be showing exactly this method of how to use the divisional charts to get down to 1 minute, starting with the natal chart and going all the way to the D60 Shastyamsha chart. 7 divisional charts. This is what I call the journey of precision, from the natal chart to the D4 to the D7, the D9, the D10, the D24, and the D60. You'll get down to 1 minute, 1 or 2 minutes. And then there are other methods you can use to get down to 1 minute. So this is really teaching you how to find the exact birth time. So the webinar is on December 3rd, December 4th, December 10th. So 3 days. And you can also choose an option to attend only 2 days if you want to pay a little bit less. But until Sunday, November 20th, you get a 20% discount. And if you use Prasad, then just the word Prasad is a coupon. You get 10% more off. Okay.
Wow, thank you.
So
Thanks a lot.
okay.
So,
So in any
yeah.
case, so using the same principle, let's look at another chart.
Guys,
Okay.
if you want to learn about rectification of birth time, this is the best webinar I would recommend you to get, because you would get to know more about the divisional charts as well. This is the one example which he has shared about how you can rectify the birth time from marriage, but from different events of your life you can rectify the birth time, like from education, foreign travel, first job, and things like that. You would be able to reach to the precise birth time, and that will set all the Varga charts, will make them accurate, and you have the
Exactly right.
access to the Jyotish tool, and you can use it
Yes.
for your own benefit. So guys,
Yeah.
if you want to join, I have already shared the link here. Go and download that book, for the first 2 chapters of the book. Get to know about, if you feel, just go and join the webinar. I'm going to join the webinar for sure. Yes. Okay, yeah, yes, one Paul
Okay.
Manley.
So this is a chart of a client of mine who came to me, and he had questions about marriage. So again, the marriage example again. And so again, we're going to be looking at the D9 chart. So
Hmm.
I notice that his birth time is 4:20,
Hmm.
4:20 a.m.
Hmm.
And that if you look at the Navamsha, the range for the Navamsha is about 14 minutes in his latitude, and it changes at 4:20 and 42 seconds.
Oh.
So that means we go forward just
Few
43
seconds.
seconds forward. Yes, a few seconds, and certainly 1 minute. In fact, we'll do that. So 1 minute forward changes the ascendant to Taurus
Oh.
from Aries.
Oh, yeah.
So so this is a very similar example, which is correct.
Hmm.
Is this birth time correct? 4:20. I know he's going to ask. He's told me that he has important questions to ask about marriage. Okay, so I
Okay.
know this is what the focus of the reading is, and so he got married in Saturn Mercury Dasha. So
Okay.
he got married in Saturn Mercury Dasha. Okay, so
Hmm.
Saturn is not connected with the seventh house, seventh lord, or
Right.
Venus. Okay, so
Right.
but if we, and neither is Rahu for that matter. Rahu is
Hmm.
absolutely no connection with the seventh house, seventh lord. Neither Saturn or Rahu, none. Okay,
Right. Right.
so we go forward 1 minute, just 1 minute, and then all of a sudden Rahu is in the 7th house. And, oh, I'm sorry, Mercury. It's Saturn Mercury is what we're looking for. Saturn Mercury was the dasha he got married in.
Yes.
Saturn aspects the 7th house. Mercury is in the 7th house.
Okay.
So all of a sudden, then we have connecting points. With the 7th house, we can explain that event. There is a connection in that relevant divisional chart with the relevant house, which is the 7th house. Okay. So here's the other, this becomes especially important because he also had questions about career. And I'll look at this. Look how precise we need to be
Oh.
in Jyotish. So if we look at his D10 chart, it changes at 4:19 and 15 seconds and goes to
Oh.
4:32.
And
So
he has given the birth time as 4:20, right?
4:20, yeah, 1
Full.
minute
Oh.
forward changes the ascendant in the Navamsha. 1 minute back changes the ascendant in the D10.
D10.
Right. So it becomes, we have to go back to 18. So 4:19, yes, 4:19 changes it to Sagittarius. So in any case, it becomes vitally important. He had the marriage event was enough to secure the 4:21 a.m. birth time. So in any case, another example from a real life case. But I wanted to point out that when K.N. Rao first came to the United States in 1993, when I first met him, he had this book, Planets and Children, a great book where he goes into the divisional charts, the use of divisional charts for predicting childbirth. And I want to just point out another example, and that is the chart of B.V. Raman. Now we're going to look at a different kind of event. That would be childbirth. So we're going to look at his natal chart, which has Aquarius ascendant. And here's the interesting fact about B.V. Raman. He gave birth to 9 children. 9 children. 8 of them were in his Jupiter dasha. So if we were to look at Jupiter's in the 10th house, the sign of Scorpio, has no connection with the relevant house, the 5th house, the 5th lord. Jupiter is the karaka of childbirth, though. But does that mean that everybody who goes into a Jupiter dasha is going to necessarily have children? We need to see confirmation of that in other areas of the chart. And what's the other area? The divisional chart for childbirth. So let's take a look at this. So he's born at 7:42 and 44 seconds. And then let's see what it looks like in the relevant divisional chart, the Saptamsa. Okay. So now check this out. Jupiter is in the 5th house, the relevant house, right?
Yes.
Jupiter's in the relevant house. And look how it aspects almost all the planets.
Mars, Rahu, Moon.
It's with Ketu and Venus, right? Rahu aspects the moon, aspects Mars. Mercury is, if you remember, he had Aquarius ascendant. So Mercury is the 5th lord in the natal chart. Mercury doesn't need to be connected with Jupiter or the 5th house or 5th lord. By virtue of being the 5th lord in the natal chart, it's good to go. It's good to go. That's enough.
Wow.
Just that he's in like if he when he goes into Jupiter Mercury, that can explain childbirth, even though Mercury in the Saptamsa has no connection with 5th house, 5th lord, or Jupiter. Okay, so now all of a sudden we can make sense of this. We can explain how he could possibly have 9 children um, um, 8 of them in the Jupiter dasha. So all of
Right.
those sub dashas are connected in some way, except Sun and Saturn, to the. Oh no, Sun is the fifth lord, so Sun is good to go also. so it's only
Yes,
Saturn.
yes, yes, yes.
Okay,
It's
so
only Saturn.
yeah, okay, so let's look at another chart. Oh, I hope people are enjoying this. I mean, this
Yes,
is
yes, I'm
this is
amazing.
putting. I could talk theory and we could have a great time, but I think it's really enlightening when you see examples, and that's so. Let's look
Yes,
at just another example.
yes,
Is that okay? Good. Keep going.
yes, yes,
I just
yes.
love. I
I
love.
want more of it. Like, I'm enjoying this.
Okay, so now we're looking at Prince Harry's chart. Now he was born at 4:20 p.m. And you would think that his birth time would be correct, right?
Right.
I mean, the whole world knew that Prince Harry was born. This is the son of Princess Diana, uh, the Prince of Wales. Any case, um, 4:20 p.m. I mean, we know that the reporters, everybody were there. They were notified. This is should be correct, right? It should be correct.
Right.
So now he gave birth to his first child in Rahu Venus. Rahu Venus.
Right.
Okay, so can you make sense of childbirth in the natal chart? Can you make sense of Rahu
Rahu
giving children?
is okay. Let me analyze. Rahu is in Venus Rashi, but it is not connected with the fifth house. Rahu and Venus are not connected.
Yes, just except Rahu is aspected by Mars, and Mars is the fifth lord. So Mars
Right.
rules Aries fifth. So Rahu has some connection. Venus, um, really no connection with Mars, with fifth house, or with Jupiter.
Do you
Um,
consider aspects in divisional charts for Rahu and Ketu?
um, I that's a controversial question. Do you use
Yeah, that's what.
aspects
Yeah, I
of?
know that's
I
controversial,
use
but
aspects. Well, first of all, I use aspects in the divisional chart. Whether
okay.
K.N. Rao doesn't use the aspects, the 5-9 aspects, the
Right.
fifth house and ninth house aspects of Rahu and Ketu.
Right.
But I certainly have seen uses for that, and this is a good example. Um,
Okay. Because Rahu is
and you
aspecting
could,
Venus. That
yes, yes. Um, and also Venus is in the fifth house from Rahu, and
oh
and
yeah.
so when you use Rahu as the dasha lagna, that
Mm,
makes sense. But that doesn't help us verify whether the ascendant is correct. I
mm,
mean, we're not really asking the question with Prince Harry because we know his birth time's accurate. But let's take a peek at his D7 chart and see if we can
mm.
make sense of the event of childbirth there. Okay, so let's go to the D7. The D7 Saptamsa. Okay,
Mm.
so now Venus is in the fifth house.
Wow. And
It's actually much more than that. This is this is why this example I just love because this is this is how astrology is like a thing of beauty to me. I mean,
mm,
I see this and I salivate. Rahu. I mean, this I get excited about this
yes.
because Venus is in the fifth house, the relevant house, but it's also aspected by Sun. Sun is the fifth lord, and it's
Yeah.
aspected by Jupiter. Jupiter
The
is the
Karaka.
Karaka. You got it.
Yes. Yeah.
So all of a sudden, we have connection with the fifth house, fifth lord, and the Karaka, Jupiter. So we have every reason to assume that Venus is the time period. We could have predicted that shortly after, whenever we got the birth chart. He could have been just born a minute earlier. We could say in Rahu Venus, this is a likely time. Uh, so he gave birth to 2 children in Rahu
Mm,
Venus,
mm,
son, and then he had a daughter. They were both in that the Rahu Venus dasha. So there you go. That's that shows how amazing the divisional charts can be for giving uh, this kind of precision.
Wow.
But I
I
think you
like,
can you.
yeah.
Please go ahead.
No, no, you say you completed. I will ask. I had some
Oh
questions I will ask afterwards. Yeah.
yeah. I was just going to say we don't get that level of precision
Mm.
in the natal chart. So if we were only to rely on the natal chart, we go back to his natal chart, or go back to B.V. Raman's natal chart, how could someone with confidence predict childbirth? 9 children, especially. How could you do that?
No.
Uh, I mean, if we uh, the the division, we go back to B.V. Raman's chart.
Yes, he has Jupiter in the 10th, right?
Jupiter in the
In,
10th in the natal chart.
in
Yes,
natal chart, yeah.
yes, and so Jupiter's in the 10th. How can you make sense of that? Jupiter doesn't aspect the fifth house. It
Yes.
doesn't aspect the fifth lord. It's the Karaka, but a lot of people. I mean, David Frawley, whose chart I have.
Mm.
David Frawley was in his Jupiter dasha, um, and he didn't have children. So it doesn't necessarily mean just being in the dasha of the Karaka that you're going to have
Mm.
event related to that Karaka status that the planet represents. Um,
Correct.
okay, so this is a good example of why Jyotish is a blunt tool without the use of the divisional
Hmm.
charts. We're scratching our heads. How if someone said, okay, actually I've had 9 children. If they said, first of all, will I have children? And you go, and you're only looking at the natal chart, you might say, um, maybe in your Jupiter dasha. I mean,
Yes, yes.
I mean,
Because fifth lord in the seventh house with the eighth and sixth, fifth lord in the seventh with malefic, you know, things like
yes,
that.
but yes. There's, yeah. I mean, we can see some, but they're not really being activated by Jupiter
Correct,
dasha,
correct.
right? So that that does say that Mercury Mercury with Venus forming a Raj Yoga, fourth lord, fifth lord combining. He certainly has the potential for having children. But would the Jupiter Dasha necessarily bring that? That's the question. And in the natal chart, we can't say. We probably say maybe in the Jupiter Dasha, but then after at the end of the Jupiter Dasha, he goes, "You said maybe, but I had 9 children." So
That is
that's not very precise, and people are expecting
right.
precision. So
Mm.
this is why the natal chart is just not enough. You can
Mm.
see it easily in this example, um, and why it's kind of ludicrous to try to make precise predictions if we're only using the natal chart.
Like,
Okay.
you use these methods to, ask your clients as well to see if their birth time is right. Like, even if they know that, even if they're saying it's right, but maybe it's maybe off by a few minutes, you use it for that as well. Like, if somebody comes to you, I was born with 10:50 p.m., but you still check on these points as before you start reading to see if it's really that you have some checkpoints for that, like, or you don't
Um,
do that. It's a
I
time
mean,
consuming process, I
it's
get.
a time consuming
Yeah,
process.
like,
I like to I like to verify. Definitely feel like I'm a responsible astrologer if I'm rectifying or verifying the chart.
I could see it
Um,
easily could take 5 hours to do a rectification.
Oh no, no. I mean, yes, yes. When I started out, yes, it was 5 hours. I'm embarrassed to
Because
tell you how long it took. I
no,
mean,
no, no, because I
I
can
mean, I
see whatever you're seeing this, I'm just visualizing how much time it will take for me to process this and how I'm going to do it for myself. I was just visualizing that, and it will take at least 3 to 5 hours for me to go through all the divisional charts, see the aspects, compare it with Dasha, what's happening in with Karaka,
well,
and
well.
see
So here,
things.
here's why. Um, uh, this is why I teach the funnel method.
Right.
The funnel, I call this system the funnel method, because we start with the wide, which is a natal chart, and then we slowly get down to 1 or 2 minutes in the Saptamsa.
Ooh,
So, um, so if you start with 2 hours, okay, wait, we could use Prince Harry's chart as an example, because now I'm getting into the actual method. So,
yes, we want to know.
so, okay, so I am gonna, so he moved overseas. He moved to the US. He moved to the US. Oh, he moved to Canada. Okay, so this was in Rahu Venus also. So much happened for him in Rahu Venus. Okay, so now we'll go back to, okay. So let's just say that we don't know that he was born at 4:20 p.m. We only know that he has Sagittarius ascendant.
Okay.
Okay, let's just
Yeah.
hypothetically just
Yes.
play around. We'll just play around and see if we go through all the events in his life, would we come out with 4:20 p.m.? We better,
Okay.
because that's his
Right.
correct birth time.
Yeah.
So, okay. So the first step is to verify that the ascendant is correct. Let's just say we've already done that. The ascendant in the natal chart is Sagittarius. Okay.
Right.
So we jump to the divisional chart with the lowest number. What is
Right.
that? The D4, at least of what I'm teaching. On the third day, I'm going to teach using the D3, how you can do this with a D3. But
Reckoner.
in
Yeah.
the Drekina chart, if they have
Yeah.
a sibling, then you can do that, a younger sibling especially. But let me just show you what I'm talking about, so it's not just theoretical. Okay, Chatur Tamsha. This gets technical, so bear with me.
Loving it.
So what is the D4? The D4, we use the D4 for relocation,
Right.
moving, home purchases. It relates to the fourth house, hence the name, the D4, the Chatur Tamsha. Okay, so if we were to start at the beginning of the ascendant in Sagittarius in his natal chart, let's just say that the D4 is going to divide the 2 hours of the Sagittarius ascendant into 4 ascendants. There are 4 possible ascendants: Sagittarius, Pisces, Gemini, and Virgo.
Virgo.
Okay, so some divisional charts like the Saptamsa and the Navamsha will just proceed to the next sign. But this jumps through the mutable signs, or okay,
Because he
the
has
mutable signs.
Sagittarius ascendant.
Uh, yes, Sagittarius ascendant. Um, if he had an ascendant with a fixed sign, like say Taurus, then it would go through the fixed signs.
Okay.
If
Yeah.
he went, yeah, okay. So
So
this
the
is just
fourth, always the
basic.
fourth sense. Yeah. Get it.
Yes, there's going to be 4 possibilities. So the D4 is going to divide the, let's say, 120 minutes, 2 hours of the ascendant by 4, right? So what does that give us? 30 minutes each,
Right.
right? So each ascendant in the D4 is about 30 minutes. And we can see here that because he's born at a higher latitude, more northerly latitude, it's actually 34 minutes. 34
34
minutes.
minutes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, so you, if we find out which ascendant is correct in the D4, we have eliminated 75% of of his birth time. Then we're down to 30 minutes. Okay. So we could go through this analysis step by step, but just consider Sagittarius. He moved to a foreign country in Rahu Venus. Instead of considering all four of the options, just look at this option here. Okay, that's too far. Wait. Okay, wait. Okay, sorry. 1640. Okay, so 1640. So the sign of Gemini, I just love this. This is amazing. Look at Rahu Venus. Rahu Venus was a dasha. He moved overseas.
Right.
So you need to understand that event. So if the event is moving overseas, then we're looking at the 12th house. Again, the divisional charts can give these kind of precise details. Not only that he moved, let's say, across the other side of town, but he moved overseas. He left the country. So foreign residence is the 12th house. It's also Rahu. So Rahu is in the 12th house. The Mahadasha Lord, Rahu's in the 12th house. Venus is the 12th Lord.
Right. Oh.
So there, all of a sudden, we can see that if we went through all four of those possible ascendants, Sagittarius, Pisces, Gemini, Virgo, we would see that this comes out with flying colors. Gemini is the correct ascendant for him. So then we've already narrowed that 2-hour range. We're scratching our head. Where in the 2 hours could this guy possibly be born?
Yeah.
Right? You know, we've narrowed it down to, what is that? That's is that 28 minutes? 28 minutes. All right, 28 minutes. We've narrowed it down to 28 minutes.
28 minutes
of the Gemini ascendant. So if somebody said, he said, look at this event. I had a major event. I moved overseas. I left my native country. It should definitely be showing up in the D4 chart. They said, is my birth time correct? And you go, you could say, yeah, it seems to be correct based on this one event that you were born between 4:10, let's say, and 4:37. 4:10 to 4:37. So that's 27 minutes in that range. So then all of a sudden we have this is a shortcut. We have just eliminated 75% of the possible birth time of the birth time range, because we've chosen 1 out of 4. Now we're only looking at this time range. So then if we were to go to the next divisional chart in the process, which would be the D7.
Right.
Okay, so we've already looked at this. The D7. Check this out. We know that Venus is perfect. This has got to be the correct ascendant. So then with the D7 being the ascendant being Aries, we have Venus in the 7th house, Rahu in the 9th house, which is the 5th house from the 5th house. So Rahu can be explained. It's also in the sign of Jupiter. Rahu, Venus, this is correct. Aries ascendant is correct. So he's got to be born between 4:18 and 4:33. Now we have narrowed it down to only 15 minutes.
Then 15 minutes, yeah.
So now we've taken it. So we started with 2 hours. We've taken it down to 27 minutes. Now we've taken it down to 15 minutes. How long did that take us? We already know that he's born in a 15-minute time range. So you could say, oh yes, I've got to look at consider all of those possible ascendants.
Yes.
I mean, it would take 5 hours. But now with this shortcut method of the funnel method, you can do it quickly. You just have to know the rules. With childbirth, it's the 5th house, 5th lord, and Jupiter. I mean, putting it the most simple and concise. So we're looking for connections with 5th house, 5th lord, the relevant karaka, Jupiter, and for the event of childbirth. But then we also know a couple other things, and I mentioned just one. We also know that a planet in not the relevant house, but connected to the Bhavat Bhavam house. That's what Rahu is doing. So
Oh,
Rahu is in the ninth house, which is the fifth house from the fifth house. So Bhavat
yes.
Bhavam is an important principle. That's also a clue. So yes, a valid clue. The other valid clue is if a planet is in the ascendant in the relevant divisional chart, which we saw in the example of my dad. He had
Yes.
moon in the ascendant in the D9 chart
Indeed, Acha.
for the event of marriage, which was in the moon Rahu Dasha.
Right.
So then the other one was the other factor that we need to be aware of is what I mentioned in B.V. Raman's chart. And then in the Saptamsa, we talked about Mercury being the fifth lord in the natal
Right.
chart. That it holds the power of the fifth house in in uh, in the Saptamsa. So
Okay.
it alone can give, and K.N Rao talks about this in here. He says he calls Mercury a qualifier for childbirth. So those are I've just explained the 6 factors for that we look at. We look at the house, the relevant house lord, the karaka, if the planet is in the ascendant in the divisional chart, if it's the relevant house lord in the natal chart, and we look at Bhavat Bhavam. It's connected in that way. So those are the 6 powerhouse factors. Okay, that's what we're looking for. So this is a powerful method that in 1 hour, in 1 hour you should be able, if you have good events, they're accurate events, then you should be able to get the birth time down to 1 minute within an hour or
Wow.
perhaps 2 hours. I mean, as you get used to this, as you get used to verifying the ascendants in the divisional charts and you know what you're looking for, of course, when we're learning anything, it takes longer. But um, so this is what I'm teaching. But think of it,
Wow.
this is not just teaching birth time rectification. This is giving you predictive skill because all of a sudden you can utilize all the tools of the divisional charts, all of
Yes,
them.
I can see that. I can feel that.
I
Yeah.
mean, if you help somebody, if you find your own birth time, what do you get? What do you get? We can stop sharing right now.
Yeah.
If you have a correct birth time to the exact minute, what do you get? I mean, you're working hard to find your exact birth time. What do you get? What do you get out of that? Well,
We get, yeah.
you get the Vimshotri dashas down to the 5th level to the exact day.
Oh, oh, yes.
Everything down to the 5th level. The any divisional chart should be accurate. You can utilize
Wow.
all the divisional charts. The Vimshoti dasha will be accurate down to the 5th level, the Prana dasha level. So it's worth taking the time to go through these steps to get the exact birth time. But it's like when you get
You all,
the exact birth time, it's like you all of a sudden have a premium,
all,
top of the line, astrologer ready, high performance birth time.
yes, it's like I feel the power even by just knowing this. I can feel that if I am able to use the Mahadasha at to the 5th level, like even at the 3rd and 2nd level, we get so much
Yes.
accuracy.
Oh
I can't
yes.
imagine if I can use and apply that to the 5th level because I have accurate birth time. Would be, I would love to use that.
Well, I'll just tell you a quick story. When my son
Yeah.
was born, I had already practiced Jyotish for about 15 years, and I had seen all of these potential birth time problems, of which I've been able to identify. There are 6 potential birth time problems that people tend to have, could possibly have. So I was determined that he would have an exact birth time down to the second. I was getting, I I was I was kind of crazy. I was like, this, I'm
That
so
I want
determined.
accurate birth time. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So I synchronized my watch to the Naval Observatory master clock, which was, in 2008 when my son was born. That's the best we could do. Now your cell phones will give you the exact birth time, but
Right.
back then that was the best I could do. And and so and then so a valid question I should just point out is, how do you know when the exact birth time is?
Yes, we have one
Is it
question with this. You know, Siva is asking, what is the precise birth time we need to consider first breath of baby coming out of womb to decide the divisional charts?
Uh, great question. And I asked K.N Rao directly that question one time.
Wow.
And because I said, is it when you cut the umbilical cord? Is that it?
Hmm.
Is it when the baby just emerges out of the womb, when it takes its first breath? And he goes, it's the first breath. They take their
Listen.
first breath. So when a baby changes environments from being inside the womb to being outside the womb, there's obviously a change. It's a shock.
It's a
So
shock.
they take a gasp in that moment. So you want to catch the gasp of his first breath. It's the
Oh,
first breath because it's like a strain. So that's the first breath. That's what you want to note down. So getting back to my story of my son, I was hovering over him when he was born, and I caught his first breath. So yeah. So here's the thing. He was born at 8:46 p.m. and 12 seconds. I knew he was going to have the correct Shastyamsha. I was determined. 8:46
oh,
and 12 seconds. Yeah, the Shastyamsha is interesting. We could talk more about that. But here's the thing. The hospital recorded it as 10:46 p.m.
yeah.
2 hours later. I
And
mean,
he's born on 8:46.
yeah, like I'm like, how can that be? You got to be joking. You serious? Look at it's 8:46 and 12 seconds, dudes. I mean, I was like, I was like, uh, I was infuriated. But I mean, most people would like, okay, 8:46, 10:46, and who
Doesn't
cares?
matter. The
It's
day is
for
right
uh,
is enough.
yeah, that's
Birthday
enough.
is right.
A healthy child, great, we're good. And then the child asked, 10 years or 20 years later, they're 20 years old, they want to they're getting into astrology. Then they ask their parents what time were they born, and they look at the birth certificate, it says 10:46. My son would have had a Libra ascendant, not Virgo ascendant. It's a completely different chart.
Right.
So until that was caught, he had one of the six birth time problems, which is an inaccurately recorded birth time. If someone is born uh, 8:46 p.m. and they wrote 8:46 a.m., then it's the same kind of problem. It's a
Right.
clerical error. So I thought before this that the birth time from a birth certificate is going to be your most accurate uh,
Yeah.
source of a birth time, more accurate than
Right.
a mother's memory generally, but not always. Um, so, but then after this, I'm like, wow, even the birth certificate could be wrong. So we have a hard go of it as astrologers because we're working with Jataka. I mean,
Oh,
we're working with
yes.
natal horoscopy, and in natal horoscopy, as opposed to like Prashna. In Prashna, we just take the moment that the person asks the question. But with Jataka or natal horoscopy, we are taking the moment of birth, and that makes it tough. I
Right.
when I was in India in my first trip to India in 1992, 93, I studied with this man in South India called named Ranganatha Rao, and I met him on the street. He was a street astrologer in Mysore. I was studying Ashtanga Yoga with Patabi Joyce, and I I asked him to be my teacher, to teach me. He spoke English, and so I had to beg him. Essentially, I had to beg him to teach me Prashna. And when I talked with him, he said he doesn't really do Jataka because of this birth time issue. So some astrologers in India make livings just on Prashna. But if you want to use natal horoscopy, then the birth time accuracy is essential, especially if you want to use all the classical systems, the divisional charts especially. Um, it's um, it's really important. Um, but it's also a challenge. Like, so then what do astrologers do? I mean, K.N. Rao says, never assume that the birth time is accurate. never, never assume the birth time is accurate. That's a that's a that's a tough thing to say to an astrologer, because most people are assuming the birth time is accurate. They take the birth time from somebody. I mean, of course, that is, you know, if if I was if someone gave me a birth time of let's just say 10 a.m. and that put their ascendant at 29 degrees 46 minutes
Right.
of Capricorn, uh, what do you do as an astrologer? What do you do? It's a dilemma. It's a dilemma.
Right.
Am I
Right.
going to say, look, you're right on the cusp of Capricorn and Aquarius? Um, you know, this is a problem. This is an uncomfortable situation for the astrologer. Now he's got to ask them to pay for a birth time rectification, and they were this is at the onset of the reading, like you're telling me now. So the client could be frustrated with the astrologer that they didn't tell them days in advance that there's a problem with the birth time. Um, and then now they're also asking for another, to pay for
Rectification.
another rectification. I mean, it's really
It's
it's
hard
a
work.
yeah, it's uncomfortable to say the least. And so a lot of people, just avoid that. That's a
Yeah.
hassle, and just go with what they said. I'm just utilizing what they told me, the time they said. They gave me 10 a.m. I'm using 10 a.m. you know, if
But
the
yeah, but
birth time is not accurate,
I have one question. Like,
yeah.
we are taking the events like marriage or when we moved out, but these are the events which will happen way later in our life, like in our 20s, right? So what about uh, the events till now? Like, if I don't know the birth chart, but what about that those 20 years until I get married? I would be still feel helpless, not able to use Jyotish tools. So, uh, how do we have, or like how to deal with this? Like, I'm a person who is 15 years old, 16 years old. I don't know my birth chart. My parents don't know my birth chart. How I can access the
They don't know the
Jyotish? Like,
birth time at all. 24-hour
like
rectification.
the wrong
They
one,
know the day.
whatever
They
it
don't
is.
know the time.
I know everything, just the time is missing. But I don't have any event to give you which will help you. I don't have, like in the case of Prince Harry, we saw the Venus and Rahu. I'm just a 16-year-old kid and I don't have anything.
Yeah. Um,
So which is the
that's a
smallest earliest event we can tap into to see that, or can we see the father or
if the person
parents
is
into there?
well. First of all, it's a different animal if somebody doesn't know their time at all. A 24-hour
Hmm.
rectification. That's a PhD level birth time rectification job.
Yeah, I get
I
you.
mean, okay. And there's
Yeah, it's
like elementary
impossible. Yeah.
school level. Like
No.
I've kind of shown you the elementary school
Yeah,
examples
I get you.
where we're only changing 1 minute, but we're changing.
One
I
minute.
mean, how many minutes is in a day? So it's a really big job to do a 24-hour rectification, and for that I use Gemini astrology and Parashari astrology. You need
Hmm.
more tools than just what I'm pointing out here.
Hmm.
Gemini is great when you have multiple ascendants to choose from, because they calculate the dashas differently. In any case, the dashas are are created per sign. So if you're born at with 0 degrees or 30 degrees ascendant, the dashas are exactly the same in Jaimini's Chara dasha, which is the
Right.
system that I use, that K.N. Rao teaches.
Right.
So, okay, so that said, there are tools to do a 24-hour birth time rectification, and I do them, and I feel confident with that, but it's a hard process. I don't teach it, not at this point. So first of all, we have to find the range that a person is born. They think they are born within.
Mm-hmm.
So most birth time problems come down to like under 2 hours. Like 75%,
Yeah.
I would say, birth time
Right.
problems. So people know within a 2-hour range generally. So that's what I teach. That's what I focused on in the book, and I'll focus on the webinar, because at
Yeah.
least we're covering 75% or more
Yes.
of charts. So then there's also the question of what happens if you don't have events. So let's talk about events first of all.
Mm-hmm.
So this is an event-based approach. There are many approaches to birth time rectification. So this is just a very pragmatic, logical approach that it's not intuitive. I mean, when I talked with Yogi Karve. Yogi Karve is an astrologer from Bombay, I believe, who can tell you your exact birth time by just using his inner vision. This is
That is,
intuition.
yeah, that is something next level. Yogi thing.
Yeah, right. So that would be one solution. Go find somebody like Yogi Karve. So Yogi Karve found my birth time to the exact minute, and he could only hear my voice because we were talking on the phone when he
Wow.
visited the U.S. This was maybe 15 years ago. Any case, any probably less. Yeah. Any case, yeah, and he would reel off each planet. Venus here in this sign at this degree. And then he said, at the very end, that's your birth time. So this method that I'm teaching is more like adjusting the birth time like a musician would tune their instrument using a
Mm.
device. The device is a divisional charts. So so that means we're working from events, and events, the type of events, I five common events. Home, so that we're using the D4. So moving overseas is a great one because that's so dramatic. The more dramatic and the more life
And it can
changing the
happen
events, the
in
better.
any age.
Yes,
This
yes,
is what
good,
I
good
like
point.
about
So
this. Yeah, it can
yes,
happen at any age because
yes.
home marriage is something happen at later age.
Yes.
But you can
So for a
move
child,
to
there you go. Very good point.
anytime you can
We,
move. This is a
and
good.
just so we just need to find the events that are
Mm, mm,
most uh, likely to have events for someone under age 20. Um, so D7 obviously not likely, right? They're not going to have a
yeah,
child,
right.
but they could start a relationship. The D9 could be used for starting a relationship even as a
Mm,
teenager.
mm.
Um, so that's a possibility. Moving overseas or a major move should be shown in the D4 chart, although there are different methods for working with a move within your native country or a move outside of
Move
your native country.
outside.
In any
Okay.
case, okay, so then a career. They could get a job. I don't know. When I was 14 years old, I had a paper route. I uh, delivered newspapers. So
Right.
that could be an income source. An income source, a job could be like a lot of teenagers are starting YouTube channels,
Right.
making a lot
Right.
of money.
I get it. Right.
So there could be a career event in there. Um, I in the D24, I love the D24. It is it is so useful because it gets you down to within a 5-minute range. 5 minute, right? So you take the 120 minutes of the ascendant in the natal chart, divide it by 24, you come down to 5
Oh,
minutes. So if you begin to learn to use the divisional chart of the Chaturtamsha, the D24 also it's called Siddhamsha, then man, you're well on your way to precision. But I use the fifth and ninth houses for education. That's what K.N. Rao recommends. Fifth and ninth houses, the Vidya Babas. In Prashara, he talks about the fifth and ninth houses as Vidya Babas, houses of knowledge. So in South India, they take the fourth house. I take the fourth house for compulsory education. What's
yes.
compulsory education? You're you have to go to school.
Right,
You're a teenager. So up till high school
right,
is fourth house. Post high school, college is fifth house, and graduate level is ninth house.
right.
I,
Yeah.
I've worked so many years with a D24. I no doubts in my mind that you can see um, education, college and postgraduate level studies, and to get the birth time accurate within 5 minutes. So, of course, we can work with the fourth house for 16-year-old under 20 years old. So, uh, but then yes, you can if we're having to decide between two ascendants or more, then descriptions about the type of work that a family member does, like a father or
Yeah,
mother,
exactly.
their
That's
job, their character traits. These are also valid methods for determining the correct ascendant.
oh, okay. Yeah, like that's what my question was. Do you use the D12 or something to do with the parents to see if it was a, if it's a newly born or some other child, and we want to do the rectification, even if it is for the
Uh,
2 hours rectification, even
I
if it
mean,
is for the 2 hours.
so I believe you can. The D12
But
certainly I use for parents' death. Other events related to parents, I yes, you can definitely.
okay, so you
The
go for
D12, the
the
God assumption,
events. You go for the events in their parents' life, is it?
you can. You certainly
Oh,
can.
it's too
Yes,
much work. Yeah,
yes.
it's too
It's
deep.
not what
Yeah.
I'm teaching because it gets rather involved because you have two parents, the
Right.
fourth house for the mother, ninth house for father. In any case, the Senate needs to be correct in the D12 to
Yes,
be able
yes,
to
yes.
describe them. So that's a useful tool. Also, the Drekken of the D3 for siblings. That
Oh,
also should,
yes. That
if
also.
the 16-year-old boy that you're referring to has a younger sibling, well, that taking the
Yeah.
birth date of the younger sibling should generate
Would
a
be able to
connection
do that.
in the D3 chart with the Dasha Lord should be connected with a D3 uh, in the D3 chart, the Drekana chart, the third house, third lord, or Mars.
Right.
So this is what we'll see. This is what you'll see. So,
Y-
any other questions?
Yes,
Before
yes. Let me just go through the questions if you have any. Guys, if you have any question, please share if you have any question around the
go,
rectification of the birth
I'm
time.
totally unaware of the time, how long we've gone.
Yeah, even I did not see the time. Okay, so okay, D1 Lord Sun in the Dijon. Okay, this is not related. Okay, so if you have D1 Lord Ascendant Sun in the 12th house, Aries of D9, will that decrease the potential of the Sun? Is someone asking this?
um, I think it's not quite relevant for our topic of
Yes,
discussion.
yes, yes, yes.
Um,
Yeah.
how
Guys,
about
if you have
relate
any question around the rectification of birth and how to use the
or use of
divisional
divisional
charts,
charts? Yes.
yeah, how to use the divisional charts, you can. Yes, yes, it is very important. Yeah. Never knew that birth time rectification. Yeah, it is important. People feel helpless just because they don't know the birth time.
Yes.
Yes, namaste. Okay.
Yeah, and just want to add that if you take the webinar,
Hmm.
you get a copy of my book as a PDF file. You get it as a download, PDF download. You also get lifetime access to my birth time rectification course, which has over 12 hours of video instruction. So this comes with the the webinar. You get the webinar,
Right.
you get these other bonuses as well. So it's really good value.
Yes, yes, definitely. Someone is asking what is Kunda multiplication method accurate? Is it relevant for the birth time rectification?
I don't know that method, Kunda
Okay,
multiplication
okay,
method. Um,
okay. What if birth time date time is unknown?
Birth date is unknown.
Oh, it's
Uh,
too much. I know.
too difficult. I don't work with birth date difficulties. Now
Oh,
sometimes I'll tell you what
find
I
a
have
yogi.
done. Yeah, yogic already. No, but yeah, if people say I could be born, one relative says I'm born on this day, another relative says I'm born on this day. We know the birth time is such and such. Um, then it's possible to decide between those two. That's not too hard. But to find the correct birth date, just to find the day, I can't do that. Not with these methods. So methods come with their limitations. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah. So yes, this was the rectification of birth. If you guys have any question, otherwise we are just, yeah, we see what we discussed about this, the hospital birth dates. No, they are not accurate. That's what he shared about his son's birth time was, they recorded 2 hours later. Instead of 8 p.m., 8 a.m.,
Well,
it
I mean,
do like we can't trust.
we, we yeah, I mean, generally that's the best. That's a gold standard to go from a birth certificate. That's going to be the most reliable. But how reliable is it? It's anyone's guess. So we can't
But
really
now people are
rely on
becoming
it.
aware. Now people are becoming aware. They take the note of the birth time,
Yes.
not the first breath to that extent, but at least they know the
Yeah.
2 to 5 minutes window when the child is born.
Yeah. And so it's a just an incredibly useful tool to be able to verify whether a divisional chart is correct, taking past events. Uh,
Right.
then at least you're not intimidated by a birth time problem. You can uh, ask questions to the client. You can um, collect events, and you can verify whether they're correct. Whether you can use the divisional charts. It's if you want to use the divisional charts, they are great tools to work from, but they require also that you have that sense. You keep an eye on the range of the ascendant in that divisional chart, because it could be right on the edge, just like we saw in the example of uh, the man earlier on, where 1 minute back changed the D10
Oh
ascendant, 1 minute
yes.
forward changes the Navamsha ascendant. So it can be like precise, so precise that it requires a scalpel, like a surgeon.
Yes. 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 Okay. So guys, if you want to know more about this birth time rectification and his book, just go and check out his link. I already shared that link with you. I'm sharing this again. Just go and download the first two chapters and go and get the webinar as well, and it will really help you, okay, to know more about the birth. And those who don't have the birth time, accurate birth time, they should definitely go and check out his work. This is, I know what kind of effort he has put in and the genius he is. You should definitely check out his work. I highly recommend you to go and get that webinar and read the book as well. Okay. So any final
It's
words you have to
also
share?
just I would say it's easy. Once you learn how to do it, it becomes easy. And
Easy.
then Jyotish becomes fun. It becomes
Ah,
a joy, because then you have these aha moments where you
right,
go, oh my God, it's in the first chapter of my book. I talk about the experience of birth time rectification, how it being like you're a graduate student in college and you got the keys to the laboratory. You got the keys, special keys to the laboratory where this high-powered microscope is, and
right,
you enter the laboratory room, and it's so quiet you can hear a pin drop, and you go up to that high-powered microscope and you peer in. Well, that microscope is a divisional chart. You're looking at a microscopic look into someone's life. And
right,
that is when you see, like we did with Prince Harry's chart,
right.
Venus in the fifth
Venus.
house, aspected by fifth lord, and Jupiter. That is like peering into that microscope and going, oh my God, you're peering into the mystery of creation. You know, you're communing with the divine mind. There's something sacred about that.
Right.
You know, it's a magical.
When we see those planets sitting there quietly and just events are happening, it makes us feel so good. You know, the Venus is sitting in the fifth house, Rahu in the ninth house. You know, they are just sitting there, and it just become true that event just
It's
happened. So
it's a
powerful.
thing of beauty of a classical system where,
Yeah.
you know, if we go back to the origin of Vedic astrology, this system was cognized by great yogis, by sages,
Right.
who saw the inner workings of divinity. And
Right.
you know that when we have the full set of tools of Jyotish with an accurate birth time, then wow,
Right.
it's something. It's a meditation. It can take. It's a spiritual practice, and that's
Yes, it
what
is.
K.N. Rao teaches: is that astrology should be like a spiritual practice. I think I'll leave with that.
Yes, yes.
I,
Thank you, and Paul Manley, for sharing
uh,
this.
my pleasure. It's great
Yes.
fun. Appreciate
Thank you. Thanks a
appreciate
lot.
you, Prasad, and
Yes.
what you're doing on this channel. You're doing such good work. You're such
Thank
a
you. Thanks a
yeah.
lot. Namaste.
Namaste.